John had other things to do, but then I texted him and made him come, and he came. I get a motion to adopt the agenda. To a bill that is currently being put forward in city council, which would give the borough presidents oversight over the ability to fire district managers of community boards at will, and also would give the borough presidents, they would make the district manager a 4-year term. So every 4 years, the district manager would have to reapply for their job, and then at will, the borough president could fire them. So we felt in steering that we did not like this, and we were.
Explain it in the end.
Yeah. So technically, if of items that we wanted that person to follow. If they did not.
Hey, hi, this is Clary remotely. Most of the time, not getting any audio at all. No audio.
Yeah, they seem frozen.
I'm having the same problem.
I just texted Alex.
Thank you, Seema.
Whoa, Clary, you're the host now.
Yeah, but there's no one else on. It's just us.
What will you do with your power, Clary?
We got disconnected from the meeting.
Yeah, we're back. We're sorry about that. We're having internet issues. Continue. Go.
No, not working.
You're gone again, Alex.
Frozen.
So what happens is. If you're hiring or firing a district manager, you go to the borough president's office. Their counsel tells you what you have to do.
Yes.
And we've had a couple of situations in the past where we've created a personnel committee. The personnel committee has met with the district manager and discussed, what procedures need to take place. And then if a decision needs to be made, yes, no, maybe. we've never actually had a situation where we actually had it come before the full board, but we've had for personnel committees. And having the borough president have power over the community board could be problematic because you don't always know what the district, just what the borough president knows about what's happening in the particular community board. There may have been issues in other boroughs that we don't know about where someone came up with this.
Yeah.
And the 4-year is a problem because if you really like someone, their loyalty may not be as good as if, you know, if they think they have to be applying 4 years, they may not be as loyal to the community.
Yes.
This is a city job.
Yeah.
And to put a cap on it, how long you can serve, and it would be completely unique in terms of, you know, employment for the city. It's not like us where we are, you know, we're term limited and all because we are volunteers and we're appointed. This is an employee of the city of New York, and I think I would agree that to have that person serve a fixed term and, you know, be able to be ousted by somebody who was not in the direct supervision of that person would be a huge problem.
I
I think we
noticed
should vote
that
on it.
Yeah.
the bill has only one co-sponsor.
Okay, let's make 2 quick questions.
I just want to say that we had an extraordinary district manager here for 20 some odd years, Penny Ryan, who is considered the best district manager in the city of New York. And also it has to do with, you know, as Beverly said, this involves people's jobs, their career, their pension. And so, yes, I think we should oppose it.
I just have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do we know, what the impetus for this?
It's in a different borough.
Yeah, there was this, supposedly there was a little bit, it's on the intro website, but there in Queens, there was an issue. And the Queens borough president would like to fire a district manager. That's how I understand it.
And therefore they offered this,
Yeah.
But
that
this
would
is,
affect all borough.
yes,
Wow.
there's the intro does.
Call the question?
Yes.
Protection of the community board?
Yes,
This in Queens?
I understand, yes.
Wow.
So,
She was like, sounds spicy. Question is open, question is called. Yeah.
So a yes vote means you oppose.
Yes vote means you oppose.
Yes.
Support our, yeah. And
Do
thank you
our
for-
online people know they can vote?
Yeah, online people, you can vote, you're just not a part of quorum. You can vote. And thank you, Austin. Quorum.
Can I vote okay?
Well, I think that's your text message. Okay, 5 more seconds.
Wait, no, I didn't vote.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna be any.
Say yes. Try to get yes.
This is like
Okay, I'll keep them in. Okay, great.
Kristen has her hand up, not sure if she's voting or has a question.
I think it's a vote.
I think it was just a vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're voting through the text messaging at the moment, unless you can't do that. Oh, she
All
can.
right. That resolution passes. Okay. Be efficient. That resolution passes.
Okay,
Isaac.
Kristen's vote?
Yeah. I
Oh,
got it.
sorry. Yeah.
Isaac. Dog waste.
Great.
So hopefully this
Comma in
is
there.
a
Give us the
non-controversial one.
food.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully this is a non-controversial one. This is about the so-called STEAT Act, which was proposed in the city council last month. It passed 6-0 and 6-0-0-0 in the Health and Human Services Committee. And what it calls on is for the city to put dog waste bag waste dispensers adjacent to all public litter baskets to pilot a dog waste composting program. We'll see how that goes. And to require the Department of Sanitation to pay special attention to blocks that get 3 dog waste complaints within 7 days. So.
Every block in the city.
You have a question?
Adam has a question.
Yeah, what's the Department of Transportation's, sanitation view on the bill?
I think they're in support of it. I cannot say confidently, to be quite honest.
I don't think they are, is the reason why. I think that would be very expensive and very hard for the Department of Sanitation to actually execute. So unfortunately, as much as I love this idea, I'm gonna vote no, just because I don't think we have the resources right now to like, have another city council.
I'm just saying how I'm voting.
Okay, let's keep it to a question.
Yeah.
So this would require the dog bags on every public, waste can?
That's as I understand it, yes, over time.
That's.
Every single one.
Really incredible.
That's a lot.
I think also there'd be composting of all this dog, but it's.
Well,
in
that would be a pilot program. The composting.
Okay, I'm voting against that.
Okay, Natasha.
Yeah, I just, I know that the resolution or this bill is coming from a very well-intended place, but
Sure.
I feel like the choice to keep a pet is a very personal choice, and it is by definition a choice. Not everybody needs to have a pet, and if you do go out and get a pet, then you should bear all costs, including the cost of the bags that the dog waste has to go into. It should not be a burden for the city, either physically or financially. Also, I think this resolution or the bill doesn't talk at all about personal responsibility. And I think that that is the biggest problem here. People love having dogs, people love seeing other dogs, but unless the owners take responsibility of cleaning up after their dogs, all these are, I guess they're nice on
Well,
paper, but
Natasha, if I may,
yeah.
oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's.
If I may, I'll actually just interject. We do actually deplore the rude and unsanitary behavior of some dog owners and encourage them to do better for their pets and for their neighbors. Also, the impetus for this in the city council at least was the humongous spike in dog waste complaints that came after the storms that we had in January and February. So while we may say that it's on the dog owners themselves to their responsibility, people are not really doing that, unfortunately. And if the city were to take these measures, perhaps it would mitigate some of those dog waste complaints.
So I was a kid and I think it was 1978 when Mayor Koch came up with the Cooper School.
Yeah.
And
It was
And it really dramatically improved everything because it was also enforcement. And so is there anything in the bill regarding enforcement for those who violate? Because I think if you don't have enforcement, it has no teeth. Agreed.
Yeah, the fines are still in place. There are supposed to be fines for,
They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's supposed to be fines now.
exactly,
yeah,
right.
but also that requires evidence to be captured.
As it will, even if
It's very
laws
difficult
in
to
that,
enforce.
yeah.
They're confining the dogs.
I'm
just kidding.
Thank you for your leadership, help and services on this. I actually feel so strongly about this because with children and, it is,
Hello?
it's like the bikes that dangerous and, far more serious than the dog waste, I will say, about the hazards. It's also just so, it just makes our community very unwell and very unsanitary. And while this is imperfect, we know that you need to enforce. We know that the 3 calls won't probably do much. We know this, just like our discussion about the bike lanes and other things. We know it's imperfect. However, the spirit of this and what the city council is trying to do is to raise awareness and to raise engagement and to take the steps if needed, right, to clean up our neighborhoods. I think we can all agree, just like we could agree about safety or safety, about vehicles, we can agree that we have a problem and we need to start somewhere. And it's so horrible. and gross.
I find that compelling, no.
Oh. Okay, let's.
I love Anna.
That we encourage enforcement.
Yeah.
Alex,
I would agree with that.
I mean, we do have in there, not to say that's perfect, but we do have in the final clause, be for the result of being 47 supports the city council's
It's there.
to back and urges It's with passage and enforcement of relevant acts.
Quick question.
Doug,
Do we know if this bill would be subject to rules making? Because I would imagine that some of the details could be then worked out at public hearings. Do we know if this bill is subject to that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
all of that shit.
No, not yet.
Can Alex,
We're not ready for you yet, Richard. Keep going.
Okay, I'm just curious, how does composting work? In terms of this aspect, is it going to be helpful? Like, can you give us?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I just don't understand that aspect of this.
Yeah, it's a very good question. From my understanding, there will be dedicated dog waste composting receptacles. Just like there are food composting receptacles. And it will be a pilot. This wouldn't be, a widespread thing, at least to begin with.
We'll go to Clary online. I've asked you to unmute Clary. Oh.
Thank you. Okay, just two quick things. One, as I'm old enough and some of the others of you are old enough to remember life in New York before the current law about picking up your dog waste. And the difference has been staggeringly favorable. Nobody's, lots of people aren't perfect. Some people don't do it, but it's been, 95% better than it was before. And I'm not sure we can ever get to more than that. But the other thing is that we got a lot of street furniture and it gets in the way. And this law essentially would require the city to install a post next to every garbage can, because what are you going to mount your, unless I'm missing something, what are you going to mount your doggy bag supply on? And we already have more street furniture, I think, than we want at our corners. So although I would love to love this resolution, and my first thought was, yeah, of course, I'm going to vote no.
We'll go to Richard.
First of all, I find it hard to believe that dog waste can be used as compost. Dogs are meat-eating animals, and the amount of compost that would be collected would be minimus compared to the cost of converting it into anything useful. Secondly, I agree completely with Clary. I don't know whether I'm older or younger than she is, but I remember the dramatic difference that the Koch rule brought about, and the amount of dog waste on the street is dramatically improved. And I just think this is a solution in search of a problem.
Richard, you are older.
I'm gonna vote. Okay, good. I'm older than almost everybody I know, so so I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, let's go to Beverly and then Hayden, and then we'll call the question. Go.
I would be able to support this if we said that we supported the elements of this legislation other than the installation of a dog bag facility next to every waste can, that is a bridge too far and a cost too much for essentially this particular problem. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful idea to improve and again, increase the enforcement on this particular thing. But I think that one provision of the bill is something that really makes it hard to support.
Okay, let's go to Hayden, co-chair, to say whether he accepts this and then also to give his take. And then I think we should call a question, but go for it. Hayden.
I'll defer to Isaac on that. I would note that it's the speaker's bill that requires the placement on or near. I think I'd be open to a friendly amendment that says, however, there's broad concern about the cost of placing those as put in introduction 857. If that gains us enough votes to pass it, I think that's worth it. I will just say real briefly in response to Alana's and others' questions about dog waste composting, that is just a pilot. Isaac said that. That's one small bill that's going to put pilots there. Having done a little research on this, it is absolutely possible to compost. You have to raise it to 145 degrees to kill the bacteria. It reduces it by about 50%, and then it can be used in soil once it's been cleared. I agree it's a gross idea, but it's a lot better than throwing it in the trash and having all that methane be released. But again, that is just a pilot program. So that is not going to be a huge cost center at all.
All questions?
So with any amendments?
No amendments.
No amendments.
What about? He did say that
He just said he would.
So,
He did say he would accept an amendment regarding cost.
Okay, you want a cost, how would you like to phrase this?
And I think we could add an amendment.
Yeah, let's do it. That's fine. We'll add an amendment saying we have, concerns about the cost of 857 and urge the council to provide flexibility.
Okay.
To the relevant agencies.
Yeah, but that's.
Because I think there was a lot of, I heard that there was some concerns about making it at every single one, so.
Right.
We have concerns about the cost and.
the requirement that every single
And
trash can
the
have.
requirements.
Yeah, I can.
I think those
That
bags,
every
that little things are gonna be very, very small though.
can have, and we urge.
Things like in the dog chamber, leashes where they have 100 bags that.
By the way, Department of Sanitation sometimes. We urge them to reconsider that requirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great, question is called,
Yeah.
and it's currently 15-400.
Oh,
We only have 25 people here though, so it'd be less than.
Well, we have someone online.
Yeah.
I don't get
Oh, I think it says not in the end, try connecting the Wi-Fi, let me get your phone after. I'll help 1 second.
or are you connected to Wi-Fi and it's not letting you go through?
I'll do a manual.
Clearly had this problem last time.
Yes,
too.
I did.
Yeah, it's persistent.
But this one is not directly.
Okay, well, I'll get the manual. Okay, so currently you have 10 more seconds, everyone. 10. 9. 8.
Oh, but you should.
Well, no, I don't.
They're not
Well, I,
They told me that.
in LA, I know. Yeah.
90% of the street.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I got you as manual. So it passes 28-4-0. Great. Next, we will be going to preservation. Adam or Jennifer, would you like me to share it? Or
Yeah.
would you like to share it?
In the resolutions. please.
Great, I'll share. it.
Unfortunately, we were one person short of a quorum. But we heard from the public, we heard all the applications, everyone came in person, which was great. So there were 5, but we'll just try to work through them very quickly. If we go to the next slide. This is just a window master plan, so it basically replicates the existing window plan, or like what's on the building today. We didn't see any concerns with it. I'm gonna suggest we bundle all of them, so I'm gonna go through all of them. If we go to slide 3, this is one person who is trying to replace a door that is not original to the building on her mom's apartment. We thought this would be fine.
What floor is this?
It's the second floor. There was a stoop. The stoop is gone, so the original door is long gone, and this is just like a French door that is falling apart and they want to. Okay, slide 4. This is a rear addition on the back of the building, so not visible to the street at all. There was one person from the public who came, who lived in the building, and said that there were co-op or condo bylaw issues, but again, that's not relevant to the appropriateness of the addition. And then we go to 5. This is one for a rooftop addition, but it's set really, really far back from the building. So you can't see it from the street at all. And there's also a rear yard extension, but again, that's also not visible from the street. And then the final one. This is for a rooftop addition as well. This one, in fact, is visible if you are on, I want to say, Amsterdam Avenue, and you're standing in the right 12 feet, you can see like 6 inches of it. So I can't say that it's not visible, but it's minimally visible. And during the presentation, we really struggled to find it in the picture. So it's technically visible, but this is like extremely hard to see because you have to look through a gap in 2 buildings halfway up the block.
And make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Yeah.
I make a motion to accept recommendations of the committee.
Alex, I have my
Sorry.
hand up for two reasons. Sorry, guys, and I have to go in a moment, but two things. One, I, a member of the committee, I wasn't able to be there because I had a prior engagement, but I watched the whole video of the whole YouTube. And I would support all of these things, even though a couple of them are yet more incursions into the rear yard base, you know, historically what brownstones looked like. But I have a conflict on the 75th Street one because my husband represents the owners who are the applicants. So can we just separate that one out and do two separate quick votes because I have to not vote on that one?
Lauren, can we just bundle them and have you call for the whole thing? Can we just try to move
No, you
quickly?
can put it,
Tell me what I need to do.
you can bundle the whole thing and put cause for. the
Yeah, I
first
think
one.
that sounds good. Just write cause. Any other comments?
For the cause for all five?
We're just gonna vote one.
Yeah,
We're gonna vote one, but put you down for cause to just the one we have cause. for.
yeah,
Whatever you guys say.
okay. Question has been called. So vote yes, if you.
Each one.
Oh, there you go.
You're next.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
There's Michelle.
Yeah.
I have voted.
Michelle?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think we're next. So,
Yeah.
all right, so, do
also pass me the phone, and I'll,
you want me to?
yeah.
Yeah, can I do the new apps?
Sure. Yeah.
Except I don't know, 422 Columbus.
It's, so sure we,
Okay, we got 2 more minutes.
yeah, as soon as they put it up on the screen.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, complete. Oh, you shared it. Wow, look at you. But then I don't know how to use the iPhone, so I
Tag team a little
click
bit.
no on your share.
It's very simple.
Damn it. Thank you for trying. I was looking small. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, that passes.
Oh, this is.
We will separate the cause.
Who did that?
Okay, next up is,
BCI. Didn't we vote on 432 Columbus Avenue?
No,
ECI.
no, we didn't.
Not the
I mean, we
last-
did it at the
Yeah,
committee.
the last full board meeting, we voted on 432 Columbus Avenue.
Yeah, we got,
Pizzeria Uno Pizza.
Yeah.
We did.
That was
Oh.
the last change, a name change.
yeah,
Oh,
right, we have 3 that you guys have,
Right.
441
Oh, it's
Amsterdam,
441.
One West 67.
Talia,
Yeah.
1 West 67,
Right.
and 444 Boucherie.
So 441 Amsterdam is a women's owned brewery. They're moving into the place that St. James
Gate.
Gate used to be on 81 and Amsterdam. They're gonna keep the enclosed, it's enclosed cafe. They're gonna keep that space. And they wanna open in October-ish. They're gonna do some construction to comport with the ADA responsive with ADA. Yeah, American Disability, yeah, for the bathrooms. And it's very exciting. They're not new to the business. In fact, all 3 applications have, you know, reputations good reputations in other neighborhoods. So we're excited about them being there. One member of the community was present, very excited about that he lived above the St. James Tavern. He's gonna spend all his time in this new place. God bless America. And I guess we all have to try some new beers out.
Great.
And we voted unanimously in favor of that application. 1 West 67. This is gonna be, it's gonna be a high-end French restaurant to replace
The
the.
Leopard, which used to be
Yeah.
Cafe des Artistes.
Right.
And they're keeping the mural.
Yes, that's right.
The murals.
That's
They are
right,
keeping the
right.
murals, yeah, even though that, yeah.
And we
Updated
voted
phone number, that
unanimously in
works.
favor of that application. Again, owners who are not new to the restaurant business. And we gotta think about who's who in the neighborhood.
It should.
And then finally,
Thank you.
44446 Columbus Avenue. Boucherie, this spot was the milling place.
Milling road.
Milling Road.
Yeah, and next door it's Starbucks, they're taking up that
Right,
space also. Maybe Doug to expand the bar. Maybe that's what-
Well, they're everything. They're expanding their entire premises and taking over the adjacent space, which was Starbucks.
And
And there's
the
inter-
inside of
yeah.
the milling room is landmarked, that glass dome-ish.
Beautiful.
That's landmark, one of the few interior landmarks we have in the neighborhood.
That's right.
Again, people who know what they're doing in the restaurant business. I think Barbara, you,
Used to be Dino De
Right,
Laurentiis'
long time
restaurant,
ago,
but
yeah.
he actually designed it with glass ceiling and everything inside, if you've ever been in the space.
Beautiful.
The old Endicott
Yeah.
Hotel, and
Endicott, right?
it was DDL, Dino De Laurentiis Food Show. It was the main street. It was, Coyote,
Any questions?
Call the question.
Call the question.
Yeah, we could bundle these, and we voted unanimously.
Yeah,
in favor
unanimous
of
on all three.
8000 in favor of that application as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure, it worked. All right, fixed it out.
I fixed this. Someone had hacked into your account, and changed the number.
You want to keep it? No, no.
I don't want
Let's go.
Replace it.
Okay, get your votes in.
You're a proud owner now.
10 seconds.
It's next block.
5, 4. Okay, that carries 31,000. Now, transportation.
Okay, so the first one is the guidelines for residential buildings for no parking zone requests. So the context behind this is that we get a lot of these requests similar to street namings. And the last couple times that I've been on the board, and we've talked about this, we pass it in transportation committee, but then we debate it for like an hour at the full board, and it's really unpredictable whether or not it will pass. And so we had board members that were on the fence partially because they said that they were surprised that we don't have any guidelines or process of how to approve these. And so this is kind of what that is, and we took that feedback into consideration, and we're creating a transparent process for that. And just so you know that these are things that also the community can take into consideration, and it's kind of a disservice to not have this for the community since we get so many of these requests. And so it's also just because they fill these requirements doesn't mean that it automatically passes. It's obviously still up for discussion. So I don't know if you had a chance to read through the guidelines, but I can read through them quickly. We have two that are absolutely required, and that is that the building has to be located in a high density zone. And it is near a central business district. And for example, a lot of these things, our last applicant met these requirements. And so also the building has already talked to DOT and they don't foresee any issues with the application. There's also a single travel lane in front of the building. So if there is any stopped cars, it really is an issue, and they can't get to their building. There's also a lot of activity at the curb in front of the house or the building. So there's frequent passenger pickup and drop-offs. There's regular use by residents of visitors with limited mobility. And there are commercial or mixed uses near the building. So our last applicant, I think they were at 76th Street or something like that, right by Citarella. And that has a lot of deliveries by Fairway, Citarella, and other businesses. So they also qualified for this. And then also the request is made by or has the support of the building's management board or a significant number of the building residents. Again, last time we had about 15 of the residents come and show their support, so that's always helpful. And the applicant has gathered petition signatures in support of it. And if there's a block association, the association supports it. And also, we said that this might be optional, but maybe not required, that we would go and conduct a site visit prior to our meeting, just to verify that all these conditions really are met. And sorry, I think I kind of skipped over that first part, but that it's in a high density zone, but that the building itself has a very high number of residential apartments. And I think that was like 50 to 100 or some. I'm forgetting the
We took that
specific
one.
now. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I wasn't at this committee meeting, but, okay, great. So, yeah, it's a huge building. It's not just like any brownstone can apply for this. Any questions?
And then
Yeah.
after we pass it, if we pass it,
Mhm.
approve it, the committee would monitor it, going forward.
Just as a reminder, the Citarella did not pass.
It did not pass, yeah.
Because they had another entrance in the other building that made it controversial.
Yeah.
Or not
I
necessary.
actually live on the block where that building is. I can't tell you how offended I was by their claims, which were, as far as, as somebody who lives right there, were not, were not truthful. And, they make claims of backed up traffic, I walk there all the time, it's not there. I do know that there are probably times when there are deliveries, but I have never seen anyone have problems there. It's not a place that you would go to get a cab because it's on a side street. So you're gonna walk elsewhere. It's just really drop. I think that this reads very much like it's an effort to jam through this kind of thing because you didn't like the way the board came out, and I'm probably framing
that's
that in a
not it.
very offensive way, and
Mhm.
I don't mean to be, it's just, it feels very much like it's trying to have a second bite at the apple because, the transportation committee didn't get what it wanted.
Yeah, that's not the situation at all, but thank you for bringing that up. The situation is that we get a lot of these requests, like we're going to review 3 requests that we got just in the last couple months. And we,
Tonight we're gonna review 3.
yeah.
Sure.
So that, okay, sorry, yeah.
Two.
But, and again, it's just like we got this feedback from other board members too, that are shocked that we don't have this process in place, and we have this process in place for street naming. So it only feels fair and efficient and transparent to have a similar process. Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm the only person who seems to have a problem with this one. I've supported these previously. It was a medical purpose, or a clear social purpose. School, if it's a senior building, it's something like that, it's a clear purpose. This sounds like privatization of public lands without any compensation to the city, even on a license basis. Okay, you open a sidewalk cafe, you pay for the privilege. Any of this. So my comment is, I know there are enough lawyers here who know these processes better, but this seems to be a freebie giveaway to the co-op board presidents of every one of these buildings.
Wait, so
Sorry,
wait,
I don't understand.
Let me ask a question. That
Okay,
doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Let me ask a question. So we have 2 tonight that we're gonna hear from, one which is a homeless shelter. Or a
Shelter.
shelter, sorry. And we will hear lots of specifics, right? And then we will always, they will still come before the board, right? So we will still debate each of them in turn, a high rise or a medical. But one of the confusing things seems to be is people will write in, right? I have a brownstone. And I don't, but as an example, I have a brownstone and I would like a parking spot out front. And right now we tell them, apply.
No, they can't
Well,
apply.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
They're
so
too small.
they're too small. But let's say there's someone who doesn't know, there's no guideline. So they say, hey, could I
Exactly,
apply?
Yeah. Mhm.
And I guess you could apply.
Yeah.
So the idea behind this is to give guidelines that would then still have to show up before the community board, still have to have a full vote. Community members have to go visit the site. To Minna's
Mhm.
point, they would be able to see like, wait, this is BS, there's no backup here traffic at all. So instead of like random process, we would have a process similar to street naming where you now have to like visit, or LPC, where the LPC committee goes out and views it. So it's just like creating a process, it's not about one individual.
It creates a threshold.
It creates a threshold.
And it just shows
Just
like,
to get in the door.
yeah,
I mean,
you'll
for
be
example,
looked at favorably by
Right.
having this, but it doesn't
On
mean
my
you'll
block,
pass
there
it.
is a dedicated spot for service vehicles to come and load and unload. It is not assigned to a particular building. And if somebody, plumber shows up and parks in that space for about a half an hour, NYPD comes and slaps them with a ticket. That makes sense to me. It lets people conduct their business. We've had this discussion before. But the idea of giving a space to a building so that there are.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. You said that this is the privatization of space, but if anything, right now, the status quo is privatization of that. That what we're doing here, a no parking zone is actually dynamic curb space. That means that more uses are able to happen there. It opens up to more users. And like we talk about that the building has folks that have limited mobility, you know.
Building has folks with.
So very
Correct.
large, we're talking about very large
I know
buildings.
that building.
So
And-
that's kind of where, yeah.
But the buildings put traffic cones there once they get them.
It's
ahead.
not only for that building, it's just a space to load. It could be for a building down the
Mhm.
block. It's just a space
I
that people.
understand,
It
but
could
in
be for that
practice, they
plumber
stick
that you're
traffic
talking
cones
about.
in,
Yes.
and they put.
Let's,
Well,
okay,
people also-
okay. Let's go to Alana and then we're gonna go to John online and then we'll keep going.
I mean, my initial instinct is I would approve it because there's a lot of elderly people who might need to get up, you know, the steps, if maybe there's a doorman in the building who can help them. You know, if there's a vehicle blocking that space, people can't get in. If you are in crutches, if you're in a wheelchair, you won't be able to get up. You'll have to go to the sidewalk, which yes, is possible, but it's a lot harder. I also think with young kids, it might be easier just to unload and load. I mean, I'm not sure of the specifics of this with the buildings that we're talking about, but my initial instinct is that it's okay. Assuming, you know, the specifics are okay.
Yeah, and we had elderly and parents saying exactly that issue.
Let's go to Kirsten.
Kristen, me?
Kristen, sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
I feel like we've been around this block a few times, literally. But every time I'm just so fundamentally offended. I think it's at its heart so elitist to be like, my building gets its own loading and unloading zone. The implication is that people who can afford to pay for parking get their own private loading and unloading zone. I agree that there are exceptional circumstances that might happen, right? There are elderly centers or medical facilities, and yes, in those exceptional circumstances, there should be some accommodation. But this like building with its own zone really, really gets to me. Like, it makes me think this neighborhood does so much to make the working class unwelcome. This is just another chink, and it like hurts my heart.
I think we should go through comments and then have answer, but thank you. Hayden is the next person online with a hand up.
Just gonna say, I think we have a request for guidelines. I recall there was a big controversy about this last time, and I think the idea that we would give the public guidelines so that they know what they need to do is a really good one that I heard from people I think voted against the last resolution. So I think the idea that there are clear guidelines that we can then use to debate individual applications is really helpful. I will say, I mean, whether I'm a lawyer or not sort of doesn't matter. Insofar as there is currently, for many public spaces, one person who uses them for all week, or at least maybe two people who use a particular public, if they're not moving their car, that's one or two people per week. This is much less of a privatized idea. I think there is a concern that is totally heard when Kristen said, you don't want to give it to elite buildings. I think what you need to look at is that the block is what benefits. It is a little bit concerning, obviously, that if you're giving guidelines to buildings, that would be a concern. But I believe these guidelines are based upon the density of transit hubs and the zoning of the entire block. And I think that really should help us understand that the block is going to benefit from a space that can be used by more people. So.
Great, let's go to John, the last person online. And yeah, we are gonna hear tonight from Veterans of America.
Volunteers.
Volunteers of America as an example of one of these locations that needs a loading zone for ambulances. But yes, John, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to chime in to add the point that I don't see it, this is any more or less of a private use than a parking space is. I mean, the point, I think that the biggest problem that's created by the way we operate loading in the city is double parking and traffic flow being blocked. And if traffic flow somewhere is blocked enough that people can't get past buildings, there should be a process for allowing people to have loading zones, but a loading zone isn't private, anyone can use it. A parking space isn't, it's something that anyone can use too. So this strikes me as eminently sensible. I don't see how this is privatizing or affecting the public-private balance of anything. And, you know, I'm generally in favor of these things if there's an argument that it's gonna improve the balance of street uses because it's needed often enough. Because like I personally see street blocking and double parking as by far the most significant problem with how the whole system of loading and unloading operates in the area.
Great, so we're done with online. So now we'll go to everyone and around the circle. I'll call on people, and then again, the chairs will respond. So Howard, go first.
Well, first of all, it's all privatized now. It's privatized for a car that parks there. That's privatized. You can't use it if a car is parked there unless you tow away the car. So the question is, given that it's privatized, what is the highest and best use given that constraint? And the question is it storing a car for sometimes a week on end or allowing access to people who have mobility issues or are disabled? So that's the question. It's not a question of privatization because it's already privatized. Many years ago, when I was co-chair of the Transportation Committee, we called for the city to look upon the best use of the curb, but that's not happening. What's happening now is it used for one purpose, namely storing a car for a week, or another purpose to allow people who are mobility impaired, who may live in the building requesting it, or may live in a building adjacent to the building requesting it. So the question is, do you make life easier for those people or for the people who want to store their cars? And I think the answer is clear.
Thank you. Jamie, did you have your hand up?
I do.
Okay.
So, I think that we have a bifurcated decision here. The first question for us is whether or not we should have a, clear, application process for people who make this request of the community board and the transportation committee. And we keep using I want to reiterate, it's co-naming, not naming, co-naming as an exemplar.
Thank you.
Which I would say co-naming is slightly less controversial than this, though it has been known to be quite controversial at times. And that clear iteration of the rules has really been helpful, I think, to the committee that manages that, but also to the board. So step one is, do we need some clarity for our community and also for ourselves in this arena? And I would say yes. And then step two is whether or not these guidelines that the committee has brought to full board tonight are the guidelines that we can all agree upon to deliver to the community. It feels like we're a long way from that second conversation, but they seem to be two different things to be considering, and I thought it'd be helpful to crack those apart.
Could I propose an amendment?
Oh, I don't need to turn to
Sorry.
Ira. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
could I propose an amendment to this? Would
A friendly
something
amendment.
effective? Preference would be given to uses that support medical and social and community uses.
What do you think, Ken / Rita?
Well, I think that's still pretty narrow. You know, like we're gonna be, the next one on the agenda has to do with the church.
So-
You know,
Well,
do you want
they're
to?
getting too much like extra.
Let's just do a simple
Support.
yes, no. So no, you're not accepting it.
I would accept, because we're just saying preference,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
these are all preferences
Okay.
in here, so we
Can you
can
write it
add
out,
in.
Ira? What is your?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
if it's in there, my apologies.
it's
No,
not.
no, all good. Can you
What-
just repeat it?
It's not in-
I'm writing it
Yeah.
down. Can you repeat it? They say yes. Preference.
Preference would be given to those uses that contribute to how I say, medical, social, and community purposes. Disabled, elderly.
Okay,
Another word or two to add. to
next
that.
up, Beverly.
Thank you.
That was my
And-
point, and I would agree, particularly if this is just, you know, you're trying to give guidance to people who are applying, right? And it seems to me that saying that that would make a strong application is really an important point to make.
Great.
Yeah.
Next up, drop.
I'm just gonna say what I said the last time when I voted against it, I'm gonna vote against it again. Is that, where does this end? We're gonna just establish precedent in any building, as has been stated, has buildings with children and has buildings with elderly. That's every building in this neighborhood, and we're gonna do this for every building, where we have to draw the line somewhere, and I feel like that there's just, the more we do this, the more we open up the door to doing this, and it's just gonna be carte blanche for everybody to come up and apply for this kind of spot, and I just don't think that's a good precedence to set.
Mila?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I strongly appreciate James' comments about bifurcating. I think there needs to be a process. I have some concerns about this as it's laid out. I'm concerned about bundling, you know, because then it's sort of, you may hate one, but you like another, and, you know, but if it's bundled, then you can't vote it. You know, it makes it harder to differentiate among the different proposals. So that was a
Bundle
concern.
all of
Isn't it?
And we're not, I think we're just doing it twice a year, but not bundling them on
Not
a vote,
bundling.
right?
Yeah.
I don't think, right? Am I
Yeah,
correct?
no, we wouldn't bundle.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay,
Unless we
I'm
chose
sorry,
to.
my
Yeah.
misunderstanding.
All good.
The second thing is, I don't understand what a central business district means in our neighborhood, because, I mean, central business district, maybe that's Midtown, maybe that's Wall Street, but do we have central business district?
I mean, commercial.
Yeah.
Zones, but not.
But a central business district is a.
I think that was just a typo, sorry. Yeah, commercial, probably, yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah,
West End is not commercial. Most of this.
yeah.
Okay,
Not all of them.
great. Next up is Austin.
John Howard kind of basically said most of what what I wanted to say. I'm not gonna try and litigate this whole process. I'm not gonna try and go on a thesis on curb uses, but I do think at the point that these kinds of loading zones can be beneficial for multiple people versus, you know, a private parking space is only available to somebody who one, has that car, and two, has the time to store it for a week on end. I think that's a way that we can imagine how we use those spaces, and it does open up accessibility. I'll use a personal anecdote of mine. My grandfather is 98 years old, we're 99 next month. And loading, unloading, that's one of the most disruptive parts. For him, it's difficult to get into the car, but also for traffic behind us. Like if we can't get to the curb, it takes him a second and he needs to go around, and that creates traffic and it's disruptive to the people behind us. And if it's a one-lane road, it's game over. And that, if we're also thinking about it just for private access, but that could also be helpful for something like Access-a-Ride. They can pull into the curb. That makes it easier for them to access. And maybe don't do this just for one building, but especially when we have multiple blocks that have multiple 100, 200 unit buildings, that could be a loading zone or two on a block that could serve 200 people, that could serve everybody in that building. And that could be a lot less disruptive. And if it's just one or two spot per application, that's not that large. And I think it does help to make it a little bit easier and less disruptive and less accessible, because it is a public space. And I don't think it's necessarily privatization. All right, that's it.
All right, we're gonna keep going through the room for the one-time through people, and then we're gonna go back. So Winston.
I applaud the transportation committee for coming up with criteria by which people who want to apply for something understand what the community board's criteria are for evaluating and then making the decision.
Doug.
So, this, the request for these kinds of things, although it mentions priorities and the type of buildings that we would consider a percentage, it is a wholesale approval of a space, and there's no guarantee at all that anyone that is disabled will have priority over someone who is unloading their golf clubs. Not that not that there's anything wrong with both of those things. It's just that if this was a NORC, or if this was a facility that said this space is reserved for visitors and residents of this senior center or whatever, or this space is dedicated for handicapped disabled, that actually would make a lot of sense to me if it matched the building and facility. We talk a lot on the committee about creating loading zones or commercial, even though there's a net benefit to the neighborhood, I get it, but to me, I find it offended, because why doesn't Zabar's have it, or why doesn't any other, commercial enterprise have their own loading?
Just us here.
I don't have anything. Is everyone blocked?
Yeah, they dropped. It's just us.
I have no problem with coming up with guidelines.
Yeah.
For this issue. Where she calls the fire department, we're gonna go to the police department 5 times a day. And there's a lot of issues going on with that building. I live a half a block away from it, so I can vouch for it.
Very supportive of that. I'm the one who's guilty for taking Wiz Fish's 108th Street from one 20-foot spot to 2 spots for vans. So I'm guilty of that. right?
Okay, I think we have one member of the public, and I think we should have co-chairs, Alana, and then one, and then, in the co-chair's response. A member of the public, tell us about yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nate Imes. I'm actually a representative from the church that's located in the building on the first one that you'll consider after this. So if you have any questions, also thank you to Ken and I think through Sophia and also the staff members who helped.
Okay, we'll get to that specific one. in a
Oh,
second.
absolutely. Sorry, I wanted to say, you can ask me any questions, but on this matter, I just wanted to add, all the details of the guidelines. I'll leave to you all to consider this regularly. But we did see that these were being proposed, before the committee when we were talking recently with the members of the Transportation Committee. And we did just think it helpful to us to have, okay, here are minimums that we know we need to meet. We seem to meet them all. That means I won't waste my time doing what I'm going to do, possibly. But also it kind of leads to self-reflection about what you're doing. Am I in a place that needs this, all this kind of stuff. So I would just wanted to offer that as a, as having been researching.
Great comment. Thank you. Alana.
Amen to that, yeah. Okay, I guess going off of some of the comments here, when I think about that parking spot that might be reserved, I don't think of it as like somebody's like keeping their car there for a week. I think of it as more of like a space where people can load and unload, I guess, nearby it, and not that anyone's necessarily like, storing their car there. I guess I'm thinking about my own building where people might be in wheelchairs, or if somebody breaks an ankle or breaks a leg, they need to be able to access the building and go up. And if they don't have a space to do that, then they'll have to go around the sides or on the sidewalk. I do think it's tricky to figure out what buildings specifically need it, as we mentioned, children and elderly, but then also disabilities. So I do think that that's, harder to figure out exactly which populations might be best served for it. Yeah.
And Natasha, last one, and then go back to Coach.
Yeah, just 2 very quick points. A lot of people have talked about seniors and the disabled. I think there are seniors and disabled and people with small babies in every single building in this city. So I don't really understand how we can distinguish that. So that's kind of a moot point in my opinion. I had a question for the co-chairs. I was wondering, is there any provision that there will not be more than one loading zone on a block? Because it seems like if a building meets all these criteria and then comes for an application, but there's already a loading zone down the block, will they still be allowed to apply for it? And that could potentially take out another parking spot, which does not seem.
Agreed.
It seems totally unnecessary. So if we could put some sort of friendly amendment.
I think that DOT has guidelines where there can't be, like, the spot cannot be there. There's like a fire hydrant there, like loading zone and stuff like that. So, yeah, I can't
So on-
remember
on a single block,
specifically,
you
right?
can have two loading zones.
Do you remember the one?
I-
Yeah.
Conceivably, you could, if, like, you had a shelter and then a church,
Mhm.
you know.
So I guess Natasha's making a friendly amendment that you add something to say, you know, we dissuade multiple zones.
Or
per
not
block,
to
or-
exceed
or-
the
right,
DOT's
not to
existing
exceed-
guidelines. as to-
Yeah, but that's already in there. Yeah,
They
we
won't.
have that in there.
They won't let us exceed.
Okay, let's make it very yes and no.
Yeah, I
Let's
wanted to
make-
be.
Let's make it very yes and no. Okay, let's make it very yes and no. Do you accept a friendly amendment from Natasha, which would suggest that more than one, or, you know, that would limit the number per block? Yes or
I
no?
think no.
Okay, no, great. Let's go to the next. Anyone else in the room?
Motion is not friendly, get it seconded if you
Anyone else? Otherwise, co-chairs, do you want to respond and then we'll vote?
Yeah, I think that, like, to me, I would also say no to that amendment because it's very close to what you're saying. I think it's very close to what the DOT guidelines already on a street, and we already have that in the guidelines, so. And I just want to reiterate that these are simply guidelines. We just heard from someone who had to review them before they came to committee. It's helpful. It helps them orient themselves. And to your point, we're doing this exactly to avoid what you're describing so that not everybody can come and apply. And then we also have people, like you're saying, and that Natasha was saying, everybody has elderly, everybody has people that are that have mobility issues, but not everybody lives in this dense of a building. Not everybody's building has a single lane in front of them. And if someone's loading, unloading, it's gonna back everything up. There's a lot of very specific requests in here. And if anything, I'm more curious if you have any additional ones that we might want to add that we haven't already discussed to narrow this down even more.
I know I'm not supposed to talk, but I think it's helpful. I just ran the numbers. It looks like based on these requirements, there are only like 200 buildings in the entire neighborhood. So
Mhm.
it's not that many, that, like, even if every
It's
single one
pretty
in our
unique,
block
yeah.
gave them, it's not that many. And I think this will be very helpful in making sure that the transportation committee just gets the ones where there's a possibility.
I think we should call a question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would
Okay,
just
go
add
for
that this is just minimum criteria. It's just to get you in the door. And to Josh's concern, you know, the slippery slope argument, we can always say no. And you can vote no, and that's our power.
Of course.
But I think we have to entertain, the request, and this is just a way to get in the door. And you know, the idea is, what it comes down to is it creating massive dysfunction on the street. Frequent dysfunction, the double parking, and you know, very terrible problems for elderly and disabled people getting to the curb. And you know, that's the question that we have to wrestle with in committee, and then the full board wrestles with when it debates.
All right,
it.
okay, thank you. Let's call a question. Question's been called. Let's vote. Let me know if anyone has any issue. Such a rock. Such a rock. I don't know how many we're going for. But if you are online and you have trouble voting, feel free to raise your hand or unmute and tell me your manual vote or vote with the texting. And currently it's 24-0-2-0. So I'm kind of inclined to stop the voting soon because I don't think it will change, but 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Okay, so this passes 26-0-3-0. And then the next one is 70 West 107th Street, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
I think we have the gentleman here, right?
Yeah. So this is, a request for a no parking space in front of this building, which, houses a church on 3 of the building's floors. And they have parishioners who, come to the church, 7 days a week, many of whom are disabled and elderly. They come accessoride and for hire vehicles. And it frequently backs up, traffic on 107th, which is not one of our narrower cross streets, not one of the wider ones. And they also have difficulty getting to the curb through navigating through parked cars. And DOT saw no problem with it, but they wanted a petition from the residents, which they got. All the residents but one were in favor of it, and the one resident who was just didn't express any opinion at all. It was not opposed. And it passed the committee 9 to 1 to 1. And do you want to hear from
Yeah, let's hear from
Nate
the member of the
to
public.
amplify what I said?
Sure, well, yeah, everything you said.
Come on closer.
Yeah, come over here.
Right up to the table.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this formed out of a kind of personal and anecdotal experience at the church. I first came here to be a Columbia student, but started going to this church in 2021 in COVID times. And there are a number of beloved members of our community, especially these, I have a picture which I wish I could show you or should have included. A elderly woman lives on Columbus, 595 Columbus. She's 97 years old, still gets around the city by herself, either by bus or by accessoride. And we just run into issues every single time we're there with people getting dropped off. And, you know, they're in those vans that have to lower the people, and there's a city bike thing and then parked cars. And basically we have to sometimes walk her up the street and then all the way around, like on the street, that kind of thing. So we looked into this, and after talking to DOT, since we belong to transportation. So if you have any questions, do let me.
Thanks. We have Hayden online. Go for it, Hayden.
Hey, yeah, I'll just say, this is my neighborhood. I know this block intimately. I'm 2 blocks away. I am not have any connection with the church in particular, other than my brother, I think, has visited there one time or two when he comes to visit. But I will just say it is frequently blocked. I live right in that area. It's uphill, which is a big area, a big issue as well, because of the way 107 runs. And so it is frequently blocked, and my kids walk around this neighborhood. I think it's an important, concern for right on this block. I don't have any experience with the other one. I won't speak on that, I promise, but I did just want to say that, as a resident of the neighborhood, I think this is a pretty good candidate. For those who are concerned about condo or whatever, I'm a renter in a walk up. So, and I'm happy to have the people who live in this particular, this is a church conversion, by the way. So this is not a gigantic, rich condo building. Let's be clear. This particular location was a church that is in the floors. It has multi-uses, and so it's a very mixed use neighborhood. And 107th there is one of the more diverse blocks in our district. Let's put it that way.
Questions? Any other questions?
Call the question.
Call the question? Okay, question has been called. Open. Vote. Yay, get your votes in. 10 more seconds. And 9, 8. Okay, that carries 26-200.
Wow.
And let's go to the
27-20.
27. We get a final print out at the end and we'll put that in there. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is 160 West 74th Street. And this is the one that Barbara was referring to.
Right.
And go for it.
Okay, this also meets the minimum threshold in our guidelines. It is a residence operated by, it's called Empower Residence. It's operated by Volunteers of America of Greater New York. It's a temporary shelter for 146 single women. Some of the residents who enter the shelter come in with acute needs. And there's often the need for emergency vehicles to come to the shelter when there's a problem or a crisis. And this can include ambulances and sometimes fire trucks. And the residents of the block estimate, or I guess it's the shelter estimates that this happens 1.2 times per day. That the block is, traffic is backed up on the block because nobody can get by. The building was previously part of the Calhoun School, so it already had a no parking space. So the block is used to there not being a no parking space there. There's a community advisory board for the shelter to deal with issues with the shelter, and they're totally behind this no parking request, as is Gail Brewer. And she supports the request. And let's see. And it calls, the resolution calls for adequate space for all types of emergency vehicles, including fire trucks. And it passed the committee unanimously. Even people who normally vote against no parking spaces voted for it.
Clarification. There was no parking when it was Calhoun. Is there now parking?
Yes,
So they took away the number.
yes.
Okay, and you're just calling to put it.
Putting it back.
Emergency.
Okay, question is open.
Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, I just didn't understand.
Okay. I think you could try. I think it'll say no, but try.
What was it?
I don't think that works. Now they just met.
Okay. 5 more seconds. 5, 4,
2, so point 2, someone calls up and says,
Nah.
2. Okay, so this carries 28,000. Now we will go to 125 Columbus Avenue, Church of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, so we have an application by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and for revocable consents to install improvements on the sidewalk, and this is at the corner of West 65th Street and West 66th, between West 65th and 66th. And so basically, short story of it is that they have planters that have been there, I think like since the 90s or a while. So they're really outdated and they're not in line with updated DOT guidelines of planters. And so they want to replace these planters. And then also they want to have electric cords going underneath the ground to power the plants during the holidays. So instead of it being a tripping hazard of the cords above ground, it's going to be underground. And also we asked them if they're not adding any more planters, they're just replacing some and actually taking some out, because since they installed all of those planters 10, 15 years ago, there's a lot more street clutter. And so this is actually even going to unclutter things on the sidewalk as well. Any questions?
Call a question.
Call a question. Okay, great.
Very controversial.
Okay, and while the votes are coming in, do you want to describe the next one?
Sure.
Safety improvements at West 61st and Columbus.
Right. And this, thanks to Doug Kleiman, brought this to the committee's attention. You think of Columbus Avenue going southbound. 61st Street is the last exit before the congestion zone, before you hit the gantries. So you get a fair number of left turning cars there. And also, it's also the only eastbound street. It's the first eastbound street south of 65th Street. So you go 4 blocks until you get another eastbound street. So because of that, you get a lot of left turning cars. Plus you have cyclists going straight to 59th Street and south. And when a car turns left, it gets into what's called a mixing zone, where it's sharing space with a cyclist going straight. And it's not an ideal design because they're basically converging. And each one has to look out for the other. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And there can be conflicts. And and we did get reports of close calls from cyclists saying they were almost hit by left turning cars. And also we heard that cyclists don't know who has the right of way there. They're unsure whether they are the turning cars. They actually do have the right of way. The turning vehicles are supposed to yield, but they don't know that. So our resolution calls on the DOT to investigate ways to better protect cyclists from left turning vehicles at this intersection, such as installation of an offset crossing treatment similar to ones that we already have at Columbus and 70th Street and Amsterdam and West 85th Street, and or dedicated traffic signal for cyclists indicating whether they have the right of way. And this also passed unanimously.
Yeah, being that I brought it to the committee and I'm gonna vote against, no kidding. I'm joking. No, I think this was a picture that a constituent actually sent to me and convinced me how dangerous it was. And everybody's trying to avoid paying the almighty dollar. So when a driver is trying to quickly avoid going into the congestion zone, good chance they're going to clip someone they're not focused. So I think this is a very worthy resolution.
Call the question.
Call the question.
Oh.
So this is the last item, and before we release everyone for the summer, new business, anyone can raise their hand, but we have one piece of new business from the executive committee, which is that the applications for the community planning fellowship from the fund for the city of New York is open and is due September 4th. Last year, we submitted an application about SRO and housing. We have some ideas currently about commercial vacancy is one of the current ideas for a community fellow to study. But we are in the solicitation phase. So if you have interests in what you think we could have a City of New York funded community planning fellowship apply to, please email us. Email the board office for any details about it.
Yeah. My understanding is that the criteria is supposed to reflect the top 3 priorities of our district needs or our priorities. So am I correct?
I never
That's-
heard.
It's suggested, it's not a rule.
A suggestion.
But it's suggested that it would follow one of the the main needs of your board, but not a rule.
I thought it was top, wasn't it 3? Maybe Jesse sent something that cut and paste, anyway, okay.
Any other new business that anyone would like to say before going away for 2 months? Yes.
I just want to say, in light of the tragic death of the teenager that was on the horse and buggy carriage that happened, I think that we should start to focus again on the issues of horse and carriages in the park. This is obviously, we've always been concerned about the treatment of the animals, and in this case, a human died. I've personally felt very mixed about, protecting the jobs and and if there's a way that the horses could coexist, but this was really tragic, and also I should note that what the passenger, the teenager who passed and the driver, they were doing something illegal. So perhaps if the passenger was seated when they were supposed to, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But anyway, I just think it's something we need to pay attention to because this was a tragedy.
They have they have a city council meeting specifically scheduled in July to discuss the bill riders.
Yeah.
To be reintroduced again, it's only for writers' law, so if people are interested, then we should follow, make sure to comment or write in about this, but it's gonna be right in July.
It's not scheduled yet, but Jen and I will schedule a preservation meeting in July. We will forward whatever comes out of that preservation meeting onto the Land Rights Preservation Commission. We will not wait until September for a full board. So take a look at what the applications are, and if you have strong feelings, come to that, because we're gonna forward it right away. Because we can't slow, the process down.
Probably one of those things too.
Well, we have procedure in our bylaws.
Yeah, we're not gonna send a resolution. We're just gonna say we reviewed it and the committee.
Yeah,
Like,
and then in September, the full board then adopts.
yes, but it'll have already gone to LPC and LPC may have already acted.
Got it.
The bylaws also allow executive, if they would like to send the thing, to give an interim.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone wants to say? Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, have a good summer.
Thank you.